sometimes it just doesn't work. There it goes. It's running. All right. So, yeah. So, page 238. Okay, they talk about fair values, and then they talk about the sort of the levels, 1, 2, and 3. And what do they mean by those levels? What are they talking about, this hierarchy? How good the estimate is really, and what you would really prefer to have. Okay, so what have we got? On the order of most objective to most subjective, right, guys? What do we mean by objective?
It means that you can compare it with another, some similar kind of industry.
That's how you do it, but what do we mean just by subjective versus objective? What is objective when we think of an objective answer? Objective, next question, go ahead. Versus subjective. You crack out a number, there's an exact number, right? Right, guys? A multiple choice question where you got an exact number would be more objective format, wouldn't it? Right?
Estimating present value.
Estimating present values might be what?
Subjective.
Subjective, no kidding. It really could be. But then on test questions, I make it objective, which is impossible because it's really subjective. Yeah, that's confusing. What's subjective? It's what you think, right? It's kind of a value judgment type thing. You're making estimates, right? More rough. So if you have an essay question on a test, right? Then grading that is subjective. If you have multiple choice questions, you consider that an objective format, right? Because there's an answer. Yeah, exactly. Everybody knows the difference between those? You comfortable with that? So what are we saying here? What's most objective? You could compare it to what?
Cross industry, some similar industry.
Yeah. You know, I'd like to have an estimate of Young Brand's market value at the end of the year. I think I can look it up. At December 31st, it closed at some price. That's a pretty good estimate of the market value, as in it's the market value. And if any of us looked it up, we'd get it, wouldn't we? Okay. But how about if you're going to estimate the market value of a similar company? Well, would it be good? Well, if they're publicly traded, no problem. But even if they're privately traded, might you use Young Brands as part of the way into estimating them? And it wouldn't be as good, right? But at least you got something there, something to measure it against. Good example is real estate. If there are really comparable properties in your neighborhood that recently sold, can you get a pretty good idea of the market value of your house? Yeah. What if you're the only house like it in the neighborhood? We have some crazy person in our neighborhood that built $1 million house. You guys, my house is worth a couple $100,000. He built $1 million house. They're nuts. They just wanted to live there, I guess, in that neighborhood. But who knows what their house would ever sell for again?
That increases the value of your house too, doesn't it?
Probably not, unless it's going to be the servants' quarters. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it does. If everybody in the neighborhood started doing that, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Right? You know, well, ours is one of the crummy little houses in the neighborhood. Running. Everybody else is on a lot and a half. We're on 3/4 of a lot. Our neighbor's on 3/4 of a lot. A lot and a half. At a time, I guess, when Louisville was, that area of Louisville up by Albertson wasn't fancy anymore or something, and had been and quit being sort of fancy. You know, and quit being. So we got these little tiny houses and these little tiny lots. I love it. I don't have much yard. I have no yard. But anyway, I have plants. Right? It's really wonderful. And plus, it didn't cost very much to buy it. I won't sell it for much either, but oh well. It didn't cost very much to buy it. So, but you got the idea though, if there's comps, it's pretty easy. But wait, if you're different than everybody else, what do you do? Wow, it's tough, isn't it? Okay? So, anyway, so the first one is what? There's a market, right? Observable market. How about level 2? Market inputs, they're similar. That's what the example, that's really what I did when I went from there being a market value down to there are similar companies in the market, and we're not in the market. What's the third one? Subjective, unobservable inputs. I estimate what the future cash flows are going to be on the new business. And then I value it. But there's no history. We haven't been generating any revenues or any expenses. We're predicting the future. Oh, come on, right? And then I estimate the discount rate, huh? And I calculate that back to now. What do you think of that estimation? I just don't know. That's appraisals on property a lot of times. Have an appraiser appraise it, you really know what it's worth. You pay them to appraise it. I've actually had appraisers when I worked with a land developer ask us how much the property was worth. That's why. Well, how so what happened was, if they were going to go broke, the whole industry was broke because they were one of the best performers in the industry in the area. And you know what? The economy turned around, and the property was worth more than $11 million. We sold it for about 20. So with hindsight, guess what? That valuation was just fine, wasn't it? I guess. That's the last category. You like that? Who knows what it's worth? How much are you going to be making 10 years from now? Well, that's better than minimum wage. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Is she going to make more or you? Predict it. If you were going to predict my salary next year, and I told you how much I was making this year, and you do a decent job, yes, the volume is almost no rate, right? I'm old. I'm old past. I'm not going to give you raises, right? It's going to be almost nothing. You can guess what I make now plus $500. Probably be within $500. Okay? Got it? I mean for the year, not a month. I mean for the year. I can remember when I got $20,000 raises when I was making 20,000. Doubled, you know. What the hell happened to me? Okay, anyway, more questions. That's the real estate. More questions about this? Yeah. No, you can ask a question right now. Study session's going to be Wednesday, isn't it, guys? So you want to show them a test? You know what the odds are of me using the same test again? It's pretty high, apparently, in this group. Yeah, so, yeah. We're not doing that. Okay, read us the question. Everybody want to work your question? Why not? We'll work your question. What's your question? What does it say? What does it have there? Yes, we can do it right up. Whoa. What did I do? You can read it to the group here. A great big long thing? Oh my God. Yeah, okay, what this is we can find the problems that are similar to this. It wants to know what total current assets are, total current liabilities are, and finally earnings balance. Oh my, let's do that in a review session or something. And we'll put it up on it. We'll use this little guy and put it up. That's going to take a while. What it is it had a whole bunch of accounts listed, and you're supposed to pick which ones are which. And if you could prepare the balance sheet from the information, you know what total current assets are, total current liabilities, non-current of each, equity, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, let's do that for you. And we will use that little thing. It's called a ladybug. Yeah. Looks like a ladybug, doesn't it? Right. I thought you had a little multiple choice question or something. That'd take a half hour. Okay, so what else we got? Anything? Questions? Specifically from these guys? And I'd be happy to work with them, of course. Okay, so where's my bring a little icon big thing there. Fine. Okay. All right. Balance sheet. Balance sheet is a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, the balance sheet is sometimes referred to as a statement of financial position. That's the real name of it. So if you see statement of financial position, big deal. That's what it is. It's where you're at right now. It's all your assets, your stuff, right? Right? Liabilities, equity is specific date. Sure. Okay, we show it for one date. Yeah. It provides information about resources, obligations, creditors, equity, and net resources. Yeah, that's net resources. Of course, your equity, helps in predicting amounts, timing, and uncertainty of future cash flows. Everybody see that? It helps you predict the amounts, timing, and uncertainty of future cash flows so you can value the business. The income statement does that too, of course, right? Okay, so you can say that in your place. That's what the financial statements are kind of for, is predicting the future. We don't care about the past, we know what happened. You know what? I'm always pissed off when I find out, well, when I used to make really good money, I was always pissed off when I realized how much I made. And because I had to put on my tax return, and I had to write a big check to the IRS, send it to them. Always pissed me off. Now that my wife doesn't work at all, we owe a tiny bit of money back every year. Right? When she starts back to work again, guess what? You're going to start paying it. Okay? But do I care what I make next year? Oh, yeah, I want more next year. I want to have less last year. I don't care what the value of any stock is. I got a woman in Anyway, I made the comment that when you don't really care what the stock is worth right now, you care what it's going to be worth later. That's the whole game. I don't care how much money the company made in the past. In fact, if they made too much, the stock really price high, and it might be a problem. Because they might not do that in the future, right? They might keep going. What I'd like to find is a company that's doing really awful right now that's going to take off. What do you think? Those are good. I like that stuff, right? If I could only guess that Apple was going to go crazy, if I could only guess that Microsoft was going to go crazy, right? I could be rich if I knew. If I had a crystal ball, I didn't know what was going to happen. I'd have taken everything I had in the world and everything I could borrow and buy Microsoft stock when it was a brand new company. What do you think? How much would you go with that? Multiple, about 500, I don't know, the dollars that started for shareholders. Maybe it's $1,000. $1,000 more. Thousand only become $1 million. No, it's more. Yeah. Okay. If you had a crystal ball. So what we're going to do is we're going to get those amounts, timing, and uncertainty. What's the uncertainty give you? It's risk, which is going to determine what?
How much you can get interest rate.
Interest rate, yeah, interest rate. Yes, that's exactly right. But uncertainty is risk of losing it, right? You can lose your money, right? It's the risk of not getting those cash flows and not getting them when you thought you would, right? That's the uncertainty issue. All right, anyway, so usefulness, computing rates of return, sure, right? Discount rates. Evaluating the capital structure, how risky they are, how much debt you have versus how much equity you have, right? Do you want to loan some money to somebody where they haven't put any of their own money up? They got almost no equity, huge debt, and they'd like to borrow from you. I'm not interested, right? What are you going to have to do? If you want to start your own business, what's the first thing you have to do? Put your own money in. And they'll look at how much there is, and then they'll think about whether or not they're going to give you any of theirs. If you don't put any of your own in, you got no skin in the game, we're not interested in you. Got the idea? You got to find some money, right? Save some. Convince somebody to invest with you. Okay. Assess risk and future cash flow. Sure. So we can analyze the company's liquidity. What do we want to do that for? What's liquidity?
How quickly you can convert it to cash.
Yeah, how quickly I convert receivables to cash, inventory to cash, or for that matter, property, plant, equipment to cash, really, right? Okay, but anything into cash. And what? How much cash I'm going to need, right, to pay current liabilities and then later long-term liabilities. But usually liquidity, we look at what? Current assets and current liabilities and with their relative size. What's the current ratio? How big the current assets are compared to the current liabilities at the end of the chapter, right? Okay, the ratios. Take a look at that stuff and refresh yourself on it, okay? But you did those in 101 and 102 both, those ratios. Make sure you know them, okay? So, and this should be common sense, too. You should have that stuff memorized. But the current ratio is current assets divided by current liabilities, right? What does the bank like to see? At least 2 to 1. I think they're the same. That's way too much. You got way too much current assets. You just need enough current assets to pay off your bills, right? But you need future cash flows coming in. So predicting those cash flows is really important. I prefer 1 to 1. So, right? You can take all that extra current asset and invest it in something to make some money with it, right? But is it more risky to be 1 to 1 than 2 to 1? Sure it is, right? 2 to 1, geez, you can pay your bills, can't you? Also, kind of the points of it. What is your 2 to 1 and it's all inventory? All your current assets are inventory. You have no cash receipts.
Sell first to pay it off.
You got to sell it, it becomes a receivable, and you got to collect the receivable. You might be in deep trouble, huh? With a 2 to 1 current ratio, you could be over for you. If all your current liabilities are going to borrow, or were due, 3 months ago, you might be bankrupt with all that inventory, right? So you can't just look at those numbers either. You got to think about what it is. So people use it for this. What's solvency? Yeah, we're going to go bankrupt or not. And that gets into long-term stuff, doesn't it? We're going to have enough cash flows going into the future. Everything's cash flow, guys. The cash flow statement is not the most important statement. It's probably the least important statement. I think it is. But everything is cash flows. You're not going to pay your bills without cash, right? You're not going to give dividends to your shareholders without cash. You're not going to, you're not going to run your business without cash. It's true. But we don't want a whole bunch of cash on hand. We want a whole bunch of cash flowing, right? I like to tell people that. When I ask for a loan, I have no cash, right? Well, you want to buy this car and you want nothing down, you have no cash. Well, yeah, but I have a lot of cash. Sure, if I do, my salary comes. It's not committed at any points, right? You want a chunk of it, it's okay. You usually make the payments. And they go, well, geez, don't you think you should have some cash for a down payment? No, I'm not selling any stock. Buy this car, forget it. Be crazy. This car's not earning any money. And oh, by the way, I want a really cheap interest rate too. Right? Of course, because they're not at risk. do the same thing, you guys. They can. Okay, anyway, so don't try to do that when you're buying your first nice car. They're gonna think you're nuts. Okay, anyway, so you assess the risk, let's see, and then financial flexibility. You know what? If I already took my accounts receivable and my inventory and I use it as collateral for my short-term debt, you can't borrow money with those anymore. And you can't sell them to anybody. What chapter is that in? 7 maybe or something. We are going to discount accounts receivable, factor accounts receivable. We're going to sell our receivables. Can you sell them if they're pledged as security for debt? No, you can't. So you've limited your financial flexibility. You got the idea? Okay, you can't borrow money with them again after you use them. You can't borrow money with a building that you have a mortgage against, right? There's no mortgage against it, of course you can. Okay, sure. So financial flexibility. So you can measure all that stuff. Okay, no big deal. I would suggest that what you do is you read I said this before, didn't I? All these little things where they have to, what it means, that one, they're interesting, but two, they kind of make some good points, okay, about do you have the liquidity to make it? And the airline industry, that's what this one's about, is really interesting. You know, are they a viable business or not? It's kind of no. You know, did I tell you guys what the airline industry did to themselves? Locking in their fuel prices. Did we talk about that at all? It's hilarious. Southwest made a whole bunch of money because they locked in their fuel prices when fuel prices just right before they spiraled up. The rest of the companies, all the airline companies didn't. And guess what happened? They locked them in by buying future contracts, forward contracts, right? So they locked in the price. Somebody else took the risk of the price change. Right? Of course, they still have risk of price change. It could go down and they were stuck buying it at a higher price, right? The prices went way up. They bought it cheap. All their competitors were buying high. And guess what? They undercut all their prices on the airline fares. And Southwest became a big airline. Made all kinds of money when everybody else was losing money. Guess what they all decided to do? 100% of them. Lock in their prices because I guess gas prices are always going up. Did the price of airline fuel keep going up? Aircraft fuel keep going up? No, the price of oil's cut in half, you guys. Oh, guess who's making all the money? Not the airline companies. It's the people who took the risk, right? If you don't take any risk, you don't get any return over time. Right? People charge you to avoid risk. You need to be comfortable with accepting risk. Risk is a good thing. If you want no risk, you make no return. You'll make, if you invest in a savings account, what do you make on a savings account? Anybody know? Nobody has one. You don't have one. What is it? 0.05? It's not that low, is it? Less than 0.5%?
I get like $3 a year off mine. So like,
Yeah. I mean, geez, but, you know, it's better than putting the money in your pillowcase, right? I mean, you know, you could have somebody steal it or the house burned down and you lose it. It's better in the bank, but geez, you know, what a joke. What are you in the stock market on an average basis? 12 to 13, 8% more than risk-free. And you can make, on risk-free, if you have enough money, you can buy treasury bonds and you can make 5%, 4%, not that. Well, 4% is better than 0.5% or 1/4% or whatever the hell it is. Right? That's ridiculous. Right? Take some risk, you guys. By the way, when you invest in the stock market, do you lose money? Of course you could. And we'll talk about doing a diversified portfolio in finance classes. We're going to talk about that. Right? I own the whole stock market, a little tiny piece of it. I get whatever the market gives. Although, then do I get the big winners? No, I don't get any big winners because I own a little tiny sliver, right? I get some of the big winners, but I also get the big losers. I get across the whole thing. But I get whatever the market does. What did the market do since Obama became president? The bottom fell out for George Bush. Right? The bottom fell out and went down to, went from 15,000 to 7,000, 8,000, something like that. Just the measure of it, right? That happened. Right? My wife was almost suicidal, not the other day. She thought we were going to be rich. So it go way overpriced, go way overpriced. Came down, right? They lost half of us. I'm not retired, right? No big deal. I'm not going to sell anything. So we kept it. Guess where it's at now? what Warren Buffett says is the best strategy for investing is to find really good companies with really good management, good expected future cash flows and everything, and an appropriate risk level for you, whatever your risk you're willing to take, and you buy it and you keep it forever, unless something changes. If something changes in the company and they're going to not do well anymore, guess what you do? Get rid of it. He says it's real boring. So they get rich. Yeah. So he's funny too. You know Warren Buffett is, right? And well, kind of. He says he hasn't known for years whether or not he makes good stock picks, because when he buys something, people find out about it. Everybody buys it. They drive the price up, and he makes money. Because I can't lose. Even if it's a crummy investment now, I can't tell if my investments are good or not. Because everybody drives the price up. And then when I think they drove it up to a level that's ridiculous, then I sell and take my winnings, buy something else, and then they drive that one up. Because he's famous, you know. He can't be wrong. Well, I guess now he kind of can't be wrong. But don't be one of the ones who's following him, right? Try to go ahead of him. Okay, anyway. Most assets and liabilities are historical costs as a limitation. That's a limitation on the income statement too, isn't it? Except it's worse on the balance sheet. Why? On the income statement, we're turning it every year, aren't we? Right? Although the depreciation expense in the income statement is a historical cost. Cost of goods sold is somewhat historical, but shorter term because you're turning the inventories, right, everybody? You know which these things are. Okay. And then use of judgments and estimates is the same thing as on the income statement. And many items of value are omitted. Of course, that's true. Same with the income statement. Right? Big deal. You guys know these. You know, have I asked you to write any of these down yet? Well, this would be a cool time to do it, don't you think? Either on this quiz, I have to do it, or on this test, I have to do it, or I guess I'd have to wait till the final. My last chances, sort of. So somewhere in there, I bet they show up. That'd be good? Okay, so just keep knowing them. Keep knowing them. Pretty soon you won't have to memorize them, you'll know them. Anyway, the classifications in the balance sheet. We know all these things, don't we? Let's look at a real balance sheet, maybe. Current assets, what? It's a year or less, we've always been saying, but really it's a year or an operating cycle, whichever is longer. What do they mean by that?
Operating period could be longer than a year.
Yeah. What if I build bridges? It takes 5 years to do the project. My operating cycle is really 5 years. People don't want to wait that long, though, so you know what we typically do? We use percent of completion accounting for construction companies so that we can do an annual financial statement. Otherwise, what you'd have is no revenues, no expenses. You'd be building inventory, right, year after year after year. And you'd have all your operating expenses, and your net loss would equal to your operating expenses until you finish the project. And then the year you finish the project, you get all the revenues, all the cost of goods sold, all the gross profit, and you'd make a fortune that year. So what we do is we try to spread it out year by year by year, kind of arbitrarily, estimating what the income is each year. Kind of arbitrarily, but you know, we try to make good estimates. Okay? For the percent that's done, that sort of thing. And it gets kind of complex in construction accounting because of that. Real estate accounting, development accounting. Okay, anyway, but cash and cash equivalents. Cash includes cash equivalents. What's cash equivalent?
It's something you can sell.
Yeah, something you can sell immediately. It can be stocks, but I thought stocks were trading securities. Or available for sale. Yeah, they are, right? And this one's really weird. The definition for a cash equivalent, holding stocks, they're longer term than what a trading security is. In the definition, they haven't matched those definitions up yet. So there's overlap on these things. It's kind of strange, isn't it, when you look at the definition. But anyway, cash and cash equivalents will be at fair value. They're typically publicly traded. Cash is cash. Short-term investments, generally fair value, if you know the fair value, right? Okay? Available for sale stuff. Receivables, it's the estimated amount collectible, right? Why don't we discount receivables and all the other balance sheet accounts, assets? Why don't we just, and liabilities for that matter, why don't we discount? Because we think the discount would be immaterial because we think it's going to turn fast enough. On all the current stuff, current assets and current liabilities, is that necessarily true? Maybe not. Okay? But you should be considering that. Should we be discounting? Okay? What do we do with long-term bonds? Seeing it's a long period of time. We discount them, don't we? But then we need a discounted at the level that's discounted at and turned into the historical cost and amortized over time and value. Should we be revaluing those every year at market value? Probably. Especially publicly held bonds. Do we know what a publicly held bond is worth all the time? They're trading. Publicly traded, I'm sorry. A publicly traded bond. Just like stock is publicly traded, do we know what bonds are worth? Sure, there's a market price for it. You can look it up. Wall Street Journal, online, right? Yahoo Finance, MS Finance. Okay, you can look it up, couldn't you? So why don't we adjust? Because we don't, right? We historical, okay? Anyway, and then inventories at a lower cost or market, right? Write it down if market's less than cost. We'll go into that stuff a bit, chapter by chapter. What the rest of the book's going to be after we get done with this chapter, and we get done with present values, and we get done with weighted average cost of capital. When we go forward, it's going to be cash, receivables, inventory, and you're going to work our way through the balance, okay, for the rest of the book, okay? You're going to figure out how to really do this in depth, okay? So, balance sheet and income statement. By the way, as you learn the balance sheet, you learn the income statement, don't you? Are you aware that you debit accounts receivable and credit sales, and you're handling both of those accounts at the same time? Are you aware that you debit bad debt expense and credit allowance for doubtful accounts? Income statement, balance sheet, you debit cost of goods sold, credit inventory, right? If you inventory, you're doing cost of goods sold, if you're doing cash, and you're doing all of it. As you're doing accounts receivable, you're doing sales. Everybody got the grip on this thing? So as we go through the balance sheet, really you're doing the income statement too. Okay? Chapter by chapter by chapter. Prepaid expenses, we leave them at cost because it typically doesn't make any difference, and they're going to be used up fairly soon. So good. That's fine. Correct order, what is it? Order of liquidity. Cash is closest to cash, right? And then what's going to be cash next? Obviously, what do you think is going to go on here? Yeah, you're going to have accounts receivable turning into cash. You'll have inventories turning into accounts receivable, then cash. You're going to have prepaids last. Why? Because they're usually immaterial. And maybe they last longer than the inventories, maybe not. But you usually put them at the end anyway. Order of liquidity. Okay? And so here's the one. Oh, but this thing, this is the cash equivalents, certificates of deposit. You're parking the money is basically the idea. I have excess cash, I want to earn something with it, I park it someplace. Got it? You guys look excited about this, but that's it. You put it someplace so you get some earnings. Certificates of deposit could be a bank. Companies loan other companies money on a very short-term basis, a day or two, right? That would be considered cash equivalent, okay? So and a bank would broker it, right? A finance company would broker it between two big companies. I have an extra $100 million. I'll loan it to you for 2 days. I'm not kidding, right? And then we can loan back and forth between these people. I don't think they'll let us call them off fast. But I have $100 million for 2 days. Okay, anyway, so short-term, highly liquid investments. So here's Altera Healthcare Corp. Oh, by the way, restricted cash. What does that mean? This is still current, but it's restricted in terms of its use. I can't spend it. Yeah, for a specific purpose. Yeah, so this is restricted cash. Maybe retire some debt with it or something, and I'm required to do it. Okay, they say certificate is a deposit for collateral for lease arrangements and debt service, so they have to keep that. They're required to under the debt agreement. That's all that is. So it communicates it to people. It's still cash. By the way, could cash be non-current? Of course cash can be non-current if it's restricted for more than a year. So you'll actually see cash as non-current. Don't let that bother you. Big deal. It's the year or operating cycle, whichever is longer, issue fund. Okay, so here's another one on cash. They got restricted, and yeah, there we go. Some restricted securities that are non-current. There's current, there's non-current, right, guys? And they talk about what it's for. Okay, so cool. So read all those things. Think about it. We learned these in principles, didn't we? Just bring it back. Held to maturity investments. What's the deal with that? That's held to maturity debt, isn't it? Bonds held to maturity. Amortized cost, right? Discounted premium, you're amortizing it. Okay, current or non-current? When would it be current? It's going to be paid up within a year. The last year it's current, right? Prior to that, it's all non-current. So can you have current bonds payable? Of course. You can have current investment in bonds? Of course, right? Both ways. Trading security versus available for sale, right? Trading is what? Very short term, 2 days up to a few weeks, right? Okay. But yeah, that's why you kind of overlap those with that cash equivalent. Right? But you decide which one you're going to put it in, what your intent is, I guess. Are you just parking money or is it really an investment? Okay, and then I guess that's the way to think about it. These are at fair value, aren't they? Why would they be debt or equity? I can invest in bonds, right? But I'm not going to hold them to maturity. Sure, I can invest in debt. And it could be either trading security or available for sale too. That makes sense? Okay? And by the way, and this could be current or non-current. That's right. Available for sale, remember? There's short-term and long-term, huh? You guys already know all this stuff, don't you? Back to someone. Okay? Back to someone. Okay? So pick it up. And what do we do with the income off of these? There's not going to be any income on this unless I sell it. Well, there is. There's interest income. I record as interest income, right? And then I amortize. side is interest expense, on the asset side it's interest income, right? Bonds, okay? And then we'd amortize the premium or discount, and that changes the amount of interest income or interest expense, right guys? I know I'm saying things you have fuzzy. I want you to think about them while you're reading these chapters and you're getting ready, okay, for the quiz and test and stuff. Bring it back to the extent you can, okay? Right? I mean, like I'm nuts. Bring it back from where? Yeah, it was in your principles classes, honest it was. Okay? And then, well, in most of yours. Let's see. What do we do with the income though? When trading securities, the income hits the what? The change in market value. It goes where? On the income statement, right? Even though we haven't realized it, you're going to realize gains and losses at the income statement. What do you do on the available for sale, short term or long term? What's it called? Come on, there's this whole section of the balance sheet called, in the equity section. Yes, other comprehensive income. You bet. I'm going to have paid-in capital, common stock, preferred stock, and all that stuff, right? And I'm going to have retained earnings, and then I have this other comprehensive income category. Excellent. That's other comprehensive income is where that would sit. Those gains and losses. Any dividends you receive and interest you receive and stuff, that's going to hit the income statement if it's realized. Okay? And when you're selling it, gains and losses on selling it also hit the income statement. So it's just the changes in market value we're talking about there. Okay, and here's some examples, right? Ways you can set it up. Take a look at these things, right? Here's short-term investments, cash equivalents, or in short-term investments, and it says note 2, and they did a list. By the way, I told you it could be on the face of the statement, which is this stuff that's right on the face of the statement, right? It could be in a note to the financial statements, right? It could be parenthetical. Well, this isn't parenthetical, but you could put a description here, parenthetical, if you wanted. If I only had one investment, I could do that. Make sense? Okay, if I got a bunch of them, then I want to do this, maybe, in a note, or you can do a supporting schedule. What if there are 40 of them that you want to list? Don't put it in a note. You'd probably put a supporting schedule. Does that make any sense? So any of those are okay. Right? You all look excited. We'll get something harder for you later, I promise. Okay. Receivables, yeah. We should, different categories. Companies should clearly identify anticipated loss due to uncollectibles. That's the allowance, right? Amount and nature of any non-trade receivables. If they're in not normal course of business, trade receivables are what I'm in business to do. Like, it's sort of like income from operations, sales, right, guys? Okay? That'd be these receivables, trade receivables. We usually just call them accounts receivable, but really they're trade accounts receivable. You could have non-trade accounts receivable with employees, with officers, with customers, with, whoever, okay? All kinds of different people, okay? So it's not customers or sale product, but if it's a note or something, different types of receivables. With vendors, whatever, okay? With related companies, maybe. By the way, do you want to separate related parties? Not everything. If you're doing business with people who are related to you, employees and officers of the company, stockholders of the company, anything like that, you always separate that. Because you want a financial statement user to be able to look at those related party disclosures and determine whether or not they're at arm's length. Because if you own a whole bunch of the stock, and I work at the company and you wanted a good deal, I might give you a good deal because you own a whole bunch of the stock. We need to let the other shareholders know you got a good deal. If he's another major shareholder, you might this you're paying 1% interest to the company when the market rate is 12, right? That's the idea. You're striking 12. Be like that. Yeah, you're good with it. Okay. And then receivables are used as collateral. Why would you want to tell people they're being used as collateral? And this applies to stuff all the way through as you go. Land, building, equipment used as collateral, right guys? You let people know. Why if your assets are tied up, you want to let people know. You can't borrow with them again, right? That's affecting your liquidity. So people should be able to read the statements and find out what's going on. So figure out what all these disclosures are and where you put it. And here's an example. Great. Current assets. And then in note B, they talk about their accounts and financing receivable. That's great. Do you notice these all look a little different? Some of them look a lot different. It's very, very flexible how you approach this stuff. Okay? So fine. This number here for accounts and notes receivable net is that 1417, isn't it? They have their own allowance down there. So that's how they do it. Okay? It's fine. They put their trade accounts receivable, trade notes receivable, other receivables, okay? Then have an allowance against it. Okay, inventory, you tell people it's lower cost or market, right? Because of course it is, it's required under GAAP. You tell them it's either FIFO or LIFO or average, whatever it's going to be. You can see in note 1. By the way, which note is note 1? Summary of significant accounting policies, typically note 1, or it's not numbered in the you have summary of significant accounting policies at the beginning. What do you put in summary of significant accounting policies? Where you choose one gap versus another when you have choices among different types of gap, you write down which one you chose. So every time there's a choice, you do it. Well, there's always a choice on inventory. That makes sense, guys? Okay. However, if it's a number that you're going to disclose, you usually do not put that in that note. You put that either on the face of the statement or in a separate note. Does that make sense? Okay. So you might have a statement about inventory in this summary of significant accounting policies, a statement about depreciation in there, and then you'll also have a separate note where you show the numerical disclosures. People violate that all the time, right? But that's pretty much the way we do it, okay? Pretty much the way it was designed. Okay, good? And so prepaid expenses, right? You guys know this, right? Cash payment before the expense is recorded. What is this, a deferral or an accrual? Deferral of expense, absolutely. Yes, deferral, okay? So, you know, insurance, supplies, advertising, rent, taxes, and they're just going to be shown at the cost, okay? What the cost that has not been used is the prepaid. Obviously, it's been used as expense. Here's an example. There's prepaid expenses and other current assets. They put them together for these guys. Okay, that's fine. You could have two separate lines, one for prepaid and one for other current assets, but it's probably pretty immaterial if they wouldn't have combined it. Agree with that? And there's total current assets. Lovely. Okay. There's a summary. Okay. And then we get down into investments. You're going to convert into cash. We're going to sell them or consume them in 1 year or one operating cycle. Lovely. Okay. Long-term assets, securities. These are the same things, right? Bonds, common stock, long-term notes. What are we going to call those? Available for sale? Short-term or long-term? What's long-term? Is available for sale long-term? Or what? Investment affiliate? How about that one? Investment in subsidiary, right? And then the consolidated statement, the subsidiary is eliminated. Right, guys? You guys know this stuff. Okay, looking at me like I'm nuts, but okay. Anyway, long-term notes would go in there too, of course. Receivable. Tangible fixed assets not currently being used in operations. Oh, that's a good one. I've got land or building or equipment, and I don't use it. I just own it. I either invested in it for appreciation, right, about the land, hoping it would increase in value, or for later use. Or I was using it, now I'm not anymore. What do? Reclassify it, right? So people don't think that's part of your operating fixed assets. Make sense? And you no longer depreciate it, right? Holding it for sale, property held for sale. And if you need to, you write it down to the price that you're going to get, right? I'm using a building or a piece of equipment, and now I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to try and sell it. I'd write it down to what I think I'm going to sell it for, right? I'd never write it out. I'd write it down. Being conservative, right? Just like on inventory. It's lower cost to market, not just market, right? If it increases in value, when do you get to recognize the profit from the increase in value? When you sell it for more, right? If you leave the cost where it was, guess what? Higher sales price, cost stays the same, you recognize that profit there. But you have to sell it to do it. That makes sense? So we're conservative. We don't write things up without having really good evidence that it should be. What are the things that we would actually write up? Things that are publicly traded. Trading securities available for sale securities. Okay? Otherwise, you don't. Why wouldn't you do that on investment in affiliate or on a subsidiary or something? Why don't you record your own goodwill? Why don't you increase every year? Debit goodwill, credit income from increasing the value of our business because we're wonderful. Because you can't measure it, right? Nobody believe it anyway. Okay? Same thing with if you have control of a company or you own a big chunk of a company, right? It's really not measured. Okay, you can't do it. Okay? So we only do it on available for sale stuff. Good deal. All right, special funds. Oh, sinking fund, pension fund, plan expansion fund. What are we doing? We're setting money aside. This is not appropriated retained earnings. Appropriated retained earnings is you just say, look, I'm not paying you a dividend, so I've got retained earnings, not set aside, but it's just a message, right? I've got 100 million in retained earnings, and 50 million of it is appropriated for a plan expansion. You got the idea? Sends a message to people that you're not going to be able to pay them a dividend. This is different. I set the money aside, okay? There's money set aside, a sinking fund for paying off a bond maybe. The bond agreement requires we actually put cash payments into a sinking fund. Then what happens as that sinking fund earns money, and it's the same thing with a pension fund. This is a pension fund where the company is a defined benefit pension fund. The employees get a particular benefit, and the company's responsible for that. Usually what we do now is a defined contribution plan, because it really reduces the risk of the company, puts the risk of the employee. So what happens is you contribute a certain amount, pension plan. How much they have when they retire, oh well, that's up to them. How well the money get in, how to invest, right? But if you have a defined benefit plan, there's still some of those left. These companies can't get out of it after they have them, right? So those employees die off, basically. They still got those, right? But they're going to cease to exist. Nobody's starting anything. We passed a whole bunch of laws making people actually fulfill the commitments they make. I promise that there's good stuff there. But anyway, if the company doesn't go broke, if the company goes broke, us taxpayers give them about 60% of what they were promised by their company. Comes out of the fund, right? Tax dollars. Thank you for that. But anyway, so that's why we passed the laws. Why Congress passed the laws, because it started to cost the federal government a lot of money. People weren't fulfilling their commitments. But anyway, the pension funds and the sinking fund, and even the plan expansion fund, I guess, and certainly cash surrender value life insurance, all the income that we get out of those, interest, dividends, anything like that, that's income to us, right? We're taking the risk, so it's income to us as we earn it, right? And then we have more in the sinking fund. So you put money in the sinking fund, right? It's supposed to grow to pay off the bond and stay at the end. Any earnings we add to it, what if you earn more than you anticipated? You get to keep it. What if you earn less? You get to pay in some more, right? And pay off the full bond, of course. Okay? All right, so that's what this stuff is about. And so these are typically non-current assets, huh? Because you're going to pay them off long term. Okay? And then we talked about non-consolidated subsidiaries, affiliated companies. Yeah. So how do you do the affiliated company? Equity market, the equity method, right? Trading securities available to sell short-term or long-term are all market methods, right? We adjust the market dollar. Okay? And what do we do for affiliates? We take our share of their income, according to income for us, to increase the investment, right? When they pay a dividend, we treat it as though we paid it to ourselves, basically, right? We reduce the investment by the dividend. Remember that stuff? No, it's in your principles book. Okay, so we take a glance at that stuff again. Okay, make sure. I'm not going to give you in-depth questions about this stuff, but you got to know what it is. We're going to cover it all again as you go through the financial sequence here. Good. Yeah, there they are. Okay. This is the non-current asset side. Gee, look at that. It's all exactly the same as that first chart was, isn't it? It is the same chart. It's long-term side of it. Okay, and here's what it might look like. Does every company have all that stuff listed there in the investments? Oh, of course not. Of course not. Yeah, anyway, but what you got. And then we get down into property, plant, and equipment. You just keep going. We can even make it through the assets. It's so slow. How much could we talk about on these things? Oh, man. Is this useful? You read it, right? Everybody's read this, right? You guys have gotten into the habit. You always read everything. Is this useful to talk about it like this? I never know what to do with chapter 4 and 5. No, I don't know what to do with most of them. At least in the present value, future value one, we work a bunch of problems, which doesn't really help much. You have to just be diligent.
Do you really have to keep talking about present values right now?
Are you stressing you out here? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Wax cap them, I show you how to do that too.
Yeah, what happens? Oh, no, that's fun.
That's fun. So are present values and future values. Okay, we're gonna start here next time. And if you guys have a bunch of questions, you want to talk about something other than just going through these PowerPoints? You like PowerPoint for a change? Something different? If we did it every day, drive you nuts, probably? It would be, but once a week. PowerPoint, yeah. For these kinds of chapters, it's pretty good. I would recommend for chapters 4 and 5 both crank to the PowerPoint. Think about it. It's kind of handy. Read the after you've read, you have read the chapter. Now do the PowerPoint. Make sure you really got it. It's not bad. See you guys. What time's our review session? 1 to 3. We got 2 hours right at this time. So we can do 3 hours tomorrow if you want. You do as long as you want tomorrow. Okay? Wednesday. Not tomorrow. I'm not doing tomorrow. Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Sorry about that.
Henry,
Oh yeah, try this cash flow problem.
stay here with me for
All right. You're gonna stay with me?
we have to give that
Oh, that's right. We're gonna go down to the top. You. Oh, I can't tell if there's you've already got it. I'll give you another one. So same problem.
You've already added.
Anybody else come in late?
Is that correct?
Yes. gave me one, and then there was like
So in my
applications. He told me like I put them
Oh,
all.
yeah.
So like
but I'm not
I could
Where
like
are you working
put
for?
everything
we're
and
gonna put like
put them in like one account instead of multiple accounts.
Yeah.
What does he have to do?
Yeah, I was just like kind of slowly going through like checking to make sure there's nothing like off before I put it in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like I was doing equipment, I was putting the equipment in. But I was
Is he got capacity or something?
It was like
I mean, I'm
13,000,
constantly
and
like
depreciation
getting
was
out
like
of them
13,000, so I was like, not right. So I told him that, he was like, I know it's a big depreciation now.
Occasionally, once or twice.
So it's not paying you better.
Well, he doesn't really know.
Yeah,
It's not
You'd
an
like to have
account.
more hours, and you definitely want to have more.
Yeah,
And if you don't really need you, that's okay.
well, we were,
Because they might have thought.
what we were saying, like last time we were
Anybody
having,
have any work?
the depreciation is about really like material, because all he has is like the computers. This
They did have a
depreciation,
lady, came in, I know
it's not like a huge
had a
bill.
kid and everything, so she was in and out all the
Maybe
time.
like $100 a year, so
Staff.
200 a year. It's not
They're
that-
probably not gonna have very many people say, you know, I really need more work.
Yeah.
I wanna learn more. It's not, you don't insist on high level work, you want work.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then say, you know, I probably could apply for a different one and get maybe 20 hours a week.
The only
And
thing I
actually
could
be
really
doing some more work. Then maybe what the guy just was ill or had surgery.
Yeah, there's two main reasons, and the other one was like a state guy had surgery, and so this guy was like thinking most of the work now. So I mean, like I answered the phone and I like journal, about journal entry forms. He tried to tell me
I
how to.
how?
Yeah, because he was looking at ledgers, the old like.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so
Are you
I'll
typing
put
in
them
a
in
computer
Excel.
at least?
Yeah, I'll put them in Excel and send it out.
He doesn't just use Excel?
He showed me how to use an email the other day. You attach this, and then you send it. Oh yeah, I did it once, and it was like really bad. I don't know.
Or maybe you can help him and also all that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get him out of the dark ages a little bit. But let him know, maybe your reason is you want more hours and you want to be real busy.
I just don't know, because
And just tell him you feel like you're taking advantage of them. You know,
I do know that it is tax season, so I know maybe in March it'll get a lot busier.
or maybe that's what they'll tell you, they're gonna have you do a tax return.
I mean, I don't do the tax returns, but I
I know,
will
but they might do.
put them together.
Well, that's good experience too.
That's true, but
That's useful.
I may prepare 4 hours and maybe 2 hours of the work week for there.
Yeah, tell him,
Okay.
tell him.
Max, JD,
You know, you feel kind of guilty.
Yeah.
And what they'll probably say is,
Max call.
don't feel guilty, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. That might be true. And if they are, then great. If you learn what all the forms are, and you learn how to process them, and you learn how to put a tax return together, and you get in the thick of a busy season, and you're not doing tax returns, it's incredible. So that might be what they think. You might just think, don't worry, relax. Yeah, you know, don't worry. You'll be wishing you had this back.
Because I did email Young and was like, I have an internship now, and I'm so excited abroad, but I could start next time. Well, we really need somebody right now. And so I did that.
Well, and then you have to leave anyway.
Yeah, they're pretty. Yeah.
You might be better off to stay where you're at.
If I leave.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you can leave and you can come back. They'll
Wow. I have no idea what they're doing. Okay.
And the more coursework you get done, the better off you are. Don't worry.
All right.
It's not like you're stuck there, you know.
Okay.
See what busy season is.
Okay.
But have a little conversation with it. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation with your boss if you'd like more work.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you feel like, you know, geez, I'm just sitting here, I want to do something. You know, I'm going to get your money's worth and I want to learn. You should be smart. You're in the same situation a little. Well, they're having you work, you just think you would hire them. Yeah, yeah.
The job description has not matched the position that I was hired.
Yeah. Just do it. Ask for more. Ask for more responsibility. Ask for more work. Get things done as fast as you possibly can. Ask for something else. And still doing them right. That's what you do. And pretty soon it just gets so frustrating with you, they'll give you something. You keep asking for something. They'll either get rid of you or give you something.
So, would it be bad? Because I know.
They're loaded already.
You started questioning that, but you already guessed. You already know
Your competition doesn't get internships ever, and if they do, they're seniors.
Okay, well, I'm asking if I should, instead of taking summer classes and like getting back where I should be, I'm thinking about doing another of my internships, but we go downstairs and show me the work that we're started now,
Oh,
but
okay.
like going to their high school.
Well, that'd be really cool. You could
So,
do it. You'll just figure out your schedule. Doesn't matter.
reason I ask is
You might,
before
what
I
might
have
happen to you is
exams
you might have
or
2 accounting
what
courses
time?
at the same time instead of 1.
In the afternoon, like 1:45.
Tradition.
So I'm having meetings tomorrow morning is what I'm saying.
Or you'll have 2 finance classes instead of 1. And they're hard too. Yeah, right. You're gonna have that happen to you. Anyway, you'll have a finance certificate. No, you need to get confident.
We're gonna meet you downstairs.
Okay, I'll be
downstairs.
down. Yeah. Go to work. Why are you guys just hanging around?
I got back, I've been there since 9 a.m.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Get the experience in it.
because I like, I mean, obviously, I like numbers and all that.
It would help your confidence. You gotta work on that. You're very personable. You're very bright. Everybody's gonna want to work with you. Just, you're nice to be around. You know, you're fun.
Oh,
And so relax and learn. And if you know what, if it takes you 1 more semester to finish, and you get a job with them because you did a full-time internship with them in the summer, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. So what, it takes you another semester, or you have to go another summer? Big deal. Don't do that. Life is long, and they're going to pay you for your internship. They're not, they're in business to make money.
I mean, it's either in Stockholm, Germany, or in,
Oh, geez, are you kidding me? Absolutely.
yeah.
Either one of those. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you can get an opportunity to do that, and just go after it and have a really good time, learn a whole bunch,
Yeah,
and
I mean, all my
relax.
managers will.
You're really good. You're really smart. You can learn. You're not supposed to already know anything. Okay? You're not supposed to already know this stuff. You're learning it.
Yeah.
So you gotta stop that. And you have to apply yourself.
But it's so hard. Like, I work, like, all the time.
How many hours do you
Yeah.
work?
Well, I just cut it back because I'm in classes all the time.
Good. You shouldn't be working more than 20 hours a week.
I work 20 now.
Okay, you'll do much better. And then what do you do during the breaks? 80 hours a week or 40?
The most hours I've worked here in a week was like 55.
Try not to do that.
I mean, it was Thanksgiving. Not
It's
so.
school business.
Yeah.
You should have been studying on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, which is why.
So what you need to do is keep it to 20 hours a week when you are in session.
Right.
Over Christmas and spring break, 20 hours too.
Well, I'm going on a
Which is
mission
work
trip
then.
actually
Oh,
for
okay.
spring break.
No, all right. Well, then you got to study around that, right? Because spring break's a study break. Yeah, you need to plan this out a little better, right? And I don't mean don't do the mission trip. I mean
Yeah.
plan when you're going to do this studying and be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of hours to do
Oh, yeah.
a finance degree around this place. Or
Yeah.
an accounting degree, or an econ is not easy. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
So econ and finance and accounting is kind of what you're doing. Really, it is.
Yeah.
And so,
Then, like,
yeah. And by the time you're done, you may have a degree in all of them. It might be after you finish school, but you'll probably want to do the CPA exam at some point. After you do all this coursework, you really ought to.
But I don't like it. I
care.
sit in here and I'm just like, why? Nope.
And you like finance? This is finance. You have to know it to use it for finance. I'm not kidding. You must know this to use it for finance. You know what? You couldn't do that whack if you didn't know accounting.
Oh, I know. But it's more interesting because it has to do with like the market.
Well, yeah,
companies.
because it's more advanced. That's why it's more interesting. Guess what? Auditing is more interesting. Tax practice is more interesting than doing this. But if you don't know this, guess what? I don't mean the classes are interesting. I mean the work is.
Yeah, but I don't think tax is interesting at all. I just tried to do my
Tax research is. Tax research really fun. It's really cool. And nowadays you do it on computers. It's so fun. And when I was...
I'm a grandma when it comes to computers. Like, I don't get them. Like, Miranda has to help me.
Get over that, too. Well, then, have her really teach you. Instead of her doing it for you, okay?
Okay.
I'll see you, kiddo.
Bye.
I guess I recorded this, didn't I? Better save it.
Oh, fantastic.
I know, it's such great stuff. think anybody actually ever listened to it?
I'm sure a whole bunch of people will.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
They might. See you later.